Hello, I'm Pamela Davis. Welcome to episode 161 of the Well Done Life podcast. Hello, and welcome back to episode 161 of the Well Done Life podcast. I'm your host, Pamela Davis. If you are new here, hey, how are you? Welcome. I am so glad that you're here with us this week. I really hope that you will stay for a very long time. If you've been here before, you guys know the deal. I love you deep. Thank you so much for continuing to support me. I really couldn't do this journey without you, and you are loved and valued. Actually, all of you are loved and valued, so welcome to you too. Before we get started with this week's episode, you guys know how I like to do it. I love to be very foundational. I really feel like we are creating a safe space. So in this safe space, I like to make sure that we are building this on a solid foundation because this is like a house. And so I want to make sure that you understand that our foundation is built on two very important things, and that is clarity and love. Clarity is really straightforward. I just want to make sure that you understand that. I created the Well Done Life podcast and brand because I believe women are the foundation of society. Point blank period. I really do. We are the foundation of society, and we need places and spaces where we can be our most authentic selves. This is the place where you can laugh and cry and be inspired and be mad. All of those emotions can take place here because I think that when we have conversations and we share our journeys, we give each other an opportunity to learn from each other's experiences. We give each other an opportunity to be inspired. We give each other an opportunity to be encouraged and motivated and loved, all of the things, because that's essential. We are out here doing big things, so we have to create those spaces where we can heal, where we can laugh and we can share and grow. And my hope is that that's what we're doing here. I know that I have touched you in some form or fashion, or that makes me happy. That really does, because that's what this is all about. Because if you can be inspired, that means that you can go back out and inspire someone else, and we can really just keep this thing growing. So that is why you are here, hopefully. So then that also leads me into my second thing, and it's one of my favorite things. I'm a sucker for love. I love love. And so everything that we do in this space is going to be rooted in love. And that means that for me, I really have to make sure that I send you all prayers every week. I really do believe in the power of prayer. And we all know what they all say. When we have two or more people come together in prayer, our prayers are magnified. So I am truly believing that we're all holding each other accountable, that we're all supporting and loving and praying for each other. So I like to make sure that I send you prayers every week. And so this week, I definitely want to make sure that I am first and foremost sending you prayers of peace. The streets is wild. It's busy times, and I'm outside and you're outside. We're outside, and we're doing all the wonderful things. I really hope that with us doing all the wonderful things, that we are still being nourishing to ourselves, that we are still creating opportunity where we can just rest. Just sitting still for a moment and enjoying a cup of tea, water, wine, whatever floats your boat. If it brings you peace, I want you to do it. I need you to take space and time for you, and it is not selfish. It is essential, because if you are not giving yourself time to be at peace, it is very difficult to manage all the wonderful things that you are trying to do. And it is so important that you are having those opportunities at peace so that you can rest, so that you can reflect, so that you can be inspired, so that you can learn lessons. Because when we're constantly in motion, we can't hear when people are trying to communicate with us, or we can hear, but you might not hear the message clearly. You might be getting an impartation from God, another redirection, and you might miss it because you're distracted by lottie-dottie and everybody. So I want to make sure that you give yourself a moment of peace. On top of that moment of peace, I want to make sure that you are weaving in rest, but you are also weaving in moments where you are surrounded in love. You need lots of love, especially times like this. We are tender in these streets. Like I was telling you guys in episode 160, we are tender. So we need to make sure that we are very nourishing and gentle with ourselves, that we are surrounding ourselves in good reciprocal love and just taking care of ourselves on all levels. We can't do everything alone. And you need to have supportive spaces and places and people so that you can, get that recharge when you're feeling down, because the down moments come, even when you are accomplishing all of your goals. And I know that sounds crazy, but like I said, I talked about it in episode 160. It is still possible to feel a little unsure, a little shaken, even when you are accomplishing everything, because you're flying close to the sun. And sometimes you need somebody who can help heal the wounds that you're going to get, as you might get burned when you're going close, but you know that you have to go close so that you can get to that next level. So it's important to make sure that you are surrounded by the right people and surrounded in the right places and spaces. So make sure that you are taking care of yourselves. Make sure that you are surrounding yourself in love and just making sure that you're protecting you because you're tender. And then also that leads me into my final prayer, and that is for abundance. And of course, I'm always going to wish you financial abundance, because I know that you can be a blessing to yourself and to other people. But I want you also to be abundant in your spirit. Savor the little moments. There are so many. Don't talk yourself out of going to brunch and finding a new conversation or a new person to meet. You never know how that person may impart into you. I mean, it's hard being outside. It's a lot of adulting. That's a lot of interacting. And if you're an introvert like myself, sometimes we need places to retreat because it's like we're outside all the time. And it's not a bad thing. It's just that's a lot of peopling. And sometimes you need to take a moment to breathe, but sometimes challenge yourself to, like I said, meet somebody new, have a new experience, read a new book. Just please don't forget the little things, because little things lead up to big things. And those are the moments that create abundance in your spirit. And that ties into the finances, because there's only so much money. Then if you're only focused on the money, if you're only focused on the material, you're not going to be fulfilled. It'll never feel like it's enough. But when you are abundant in your spirit and you are creating beautiful moments with people that you love, that fill you, that nourish you, that is true wealth. And I want you to have that and really understand the value of true wealth in your life. So I am here on Tuesday night on August the 8th, recording at 11:15. And I'm really excited to be recording on this day. This is such a day of abundance. I mean, this is the Lionsgate portal. So this is a time of positive energy and manifestation. And I'm really glad because I have such a positive, amazing guest to share with you. I cannot wait for you guys to hear our conversation. She is awesome. But before I dive into that, I want to thank you all for your support of me being outside last week and getting an opportunity to have 2 weeks of episode 160 tender. I really want to thank y'all. I needed a break. It's just life is lifing, and I'm being tender. I'm creating nourishing moments and filling myself with beautiful conversations and challenging myself to really impart in me a little bit more. So I hope that that energy will rub off on you. But yes, like I said, I'm here, I'm back, and I'm ready. And I have an amazing guest that I am fangirling about, who I am just so excited to have an opportunity to speak with. And her name is Ashley Simpo. Ashley is an amazing writer. She is someone that I have been following on social media. And she and I had a very beautiful and intentional conversation about her journey of being a creative. And we talked about a lot of different things. We talked about love, music, and so many other things. So I'm very excited to have her with you. So if you'll grab some tea, some water, some wine, whatever floats your boat, sit back and relax. Ashley will be with you in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
I think I describe myself as a writer in general. I think that covers all the bases. Author, I will say Twitter till my dying day. I refuse to call it X.
Oh, yeah.
So definitely a conversationalist on social media. Definitely like to have the conversations there. Yeah, and just all around cis.
Yes, definitely. Because like I said, I'm fangirling because I am a fan of your commentary, and your writing, and so of course I have to lay it out. My first, how did you like begin your journey as a writer and a creative person? Like, how did you get started?
Oh, that's a great question. So I have always been a writer at heart. I started like writing stories when I was very little. My mom gave me my first diary, like journal, when I was 6, and she was like, just writing it every day. And I did literally every day for years and years and years and years. And I think it just kind of created this comfort with my own voice. So I have a tattered box of journals that go back to like 1990.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
It is. It is. I go back through every so often and look at it. But I don't think that I ever really envisioned a writing career until I started like blogging later in life. And that kicked off with like, I moved to New York in 2008, and my way of acclimating to the city was to write a blog about my journey as a very random California girl living in New York City. For my own sanity, I do not share the name of that blog because I don't need y'all finding it. It is private, but it was definitely my like Sex in the City, like
Ooh.
confessional type. Like I'm in my early 20s and I'm figuring out life space. And then I years later started kind of, I think, the Twitter thing and getting into social media, finding a community there, and just started sort of falling in love with storytelling in a new way. I started writing for a publication called Those People back in 2014, maybe 2015. And it was just a very Black digital space. You know what I mean? It wasn't necessarily they wanted realness, they wanted voice, they wanted personalities, they wanted people who had something to say. It was a big time for rants and raves and big opinions and actually type content, and I had a lot of that. So I started writing for them. It was my first like paid writing gig. I think I got like $50 an article or something like that. And that was where I found my writing community. I met one of my now best friends, who was another writer named Joelle Leon there. We were both writers for that publication. And it was like this cohort that just kind of grew together. And I think that was where I sort of cut my teeth with the whole pitching and working with editors and that whole thing. And from there, I started writing for BET, digital. There was a little bit of like random pitching in between of just kind of get my voice out. And that kind of became what I am today, where I freelance write, I pitch in and around the digital media spaces. I've written for Parents Magazine and Insider and all kinds of other spaces, and written for print at this point. And yeah, it's definitely been like a self-propelled journey in terms of just like being brave and having audacity and just saying like, I think I deserve to be here. So
I love it, because I was going to say that's quite a journey. I mean, obviously starting out from the Sex and the City, which that definitely sounds fascinating, but I'll be honest, that's what the 20s are for. So enjoy that and be that person. It sounds like your voice, your writing voice, your creative voice has gone through a lot of different changes. Where do you, or actually, no, before I ask that, what season of that creative journey was the most impactful for you now?
Wow, that's a good question. I think that there's a lot. I think that there's seasons that taught me a lot that are showing up now.
Okay.
I think the early days of like essay writing and op-eds and stuff like that for the first publication that I was writing for really taught me that you can create community around narratives. You can really encourage people with your words. I think that was the first time that I ever got like oh my God, I read this that you wrote and it had an impact on me. I wrote a piece called The Thing About Your Daughter's Virginity, which I was nervous to write it. Mm-hmm. It was a piece about my own experience with virginity and just sort of the idea that we shouldn't be trying to own the sexuality of young women and how that can play out negatively if we, sort of the concept of if my body is not mine, if it belongs to God or my parents or the man I supposedly give my virginity to, then when does it belong to me? Mm-hmm. And I remember writing that, and I wrote it fast. It just poured out of me. Mm-hmm. And it was off of the heels of a conversation I had with my niece, who was 16 at the time. And she said she wasn't allowed to have a boyfriend. And she said, my grandmother doesn't think I should. And I was like, but this is talking about feelings. We're talking about emotions. Like there's no you can't fence that in, right? And so it kind of took me down the rabbit hole. And the response was so warm. Like I really thought people were going to come for me and say, why are you talking about virginity? And we have to protect girls and they shouldn't be having sex. And I was afraid that people wouldn't get it, but it got such a warm reception. It was probably one of my first, viral articles. Viral. Uh-huh. It was definitely like, it got out there. There was a lady who reached out to me and said, I'm going to teach this in my class. I had people say they were going to read it to their daughters when they turned 16. Mm-hmm. And so that definitely was a boost of just confidence and awareness that my voice can actually show up in the world in a positive way and move people. And I needed to know that. I think that any creative, especially writers, especially Black writers, should know that their thoughts and their feelings and their experiences, even if they're off the beaten path, are necessary. And yeah, that definitely taught me it's okay to go against the grain a little bit. But I would say that was probably the most impactful season because it made me just go harder. And you really couldn't tell me that I was headed in the wrong direction at that point. And that was pretty early on. So
I love that. And because you need that, because I'm also thinking it takes a lot of courage to do that, because writing, even though obviously it is conventional, it's not the conventional path. Back then, it was not the conventional path to take. So you bet on yourself and you did that. And you saw the impacts of it. How has that shaped your voice now?
I think that now I've definitely, I think during that time, it was it could be chaotic. I think I went through a period where I was okay with shaking the table and had a lot to say. I've definitely calmed down. I think I write more to the motherhood and the womanhood experience more directly to the audience that I have. But it's still I think when it comes to my role as an editor, I like to encourage, especially newer writers or younger writers, don't be afraid to put yourself on a page and don't be afraid to, shake it up a little bit. And I think that it definitely comes into play as an editor. I like to tell people to use their audacity. And that was definitely pulled from the early days of writing these think pieces that were either encouraging people or maybe pissing them off first and then maybe inspiring them. But it was just I think it's so necessary. So yeah, it lives in my brain a lot.
I love that. That made me think then, what is the most audacious thing that you have done recently?
Oh, that's a good question. In terms of writing?
In front of writing or life? Because hey, you're at, living this level of life that you are. You're a mom now and going in the world. When is the last time that you did something audacious?
I would have to say a couple years ago, I had on paper probably the most successful lucrative job that I had ever had at that point. It was in tech. And it was a great opportunity, and I was making a lot of money, and it was wearing me out. It was really beating me down. I couldn't access my creativity anymore. I felt exhausted. I felt upset. I used to get that feeling in my chest when it was time to have meetings and stuff like that. So at a certain point, I just decided to leave and just like quit. And I think that all logic would have said, girl, you're tripping. Don't quit your job. Right. But, I think at that point, it definitely was more about me deciding that I wanted to, that success didn't feel successful to me if I wasn't able to be at peace at the end of the day. And I think that that was a moment where I really realized like what I want and who I am, and that I am actually not defined by how much my salary is or how much my, what my title is and this and that. I think that that was a big turning point for me, but it took a lot of audacity to say, I'm done here. This is not for me. I can rest on my ability and my skills and find what is for me. And I'm okay with maybe feeling lost for a little bit so that I can find myself again, rather than leaning into something that feels certain, but it's just not aligned with me at all. Yeah.
That's beautiful, because I think a lot of times we're all holding on to different either jobs or different people or situations because you don't want to take that chance, to do something different, even though it just feels unwell in your spirit. So that sounds like to me, for that moment, it was a very pivotal, defining journey for you.
Yeah, very.
When you were doing that, like how long, if you don't mind me asking, were you like in the in-between, as I like to call, where you kind of, reestablish yourself before you get into your new full-time occupation of being in writing full-time, or did you kind of feel like it moved pretty fast?
I think that it moved just in time. I was getting to the edge of my savings and I was like, all right, this has been fun. And what was interesting to me was, when you really align yourself with your purpose and you put in the work of putting yourself out there and creating connections and being reciprocal with others and creating community with others, that really does come back to you. And within about 6 months, 2 opportunities landed in my inbox, probably within a month of each other. Wow. That I couldn't have dreamed up. And one was with a publication that I had literally been obsessed over since they launched, which was Crown Mag. And that was, they were like, hey, we love you. We would love for you to come and work for us and be our managing editor. And, and imagine the possibilities of this publication with us. And I could have fell off my chair when I saw that, because I was like, are you kidding me? I was about to cry because I didn't know what my next step was going to be. And the other one was from a company called The Kids Co. that I had written a divorce book for previously. And they came to me with this incredible project and needed a project editor. And it was these 2 opportunities that just kind of showed up, but they were definitely a direct reflection of seeds that I had planted before. And they really just kind of manifested at the right time. It was really amazing. And I was like, see, I knew that I made the right choice.
Yeah, because betting on yourself was right. But like you said, you planted those seeds and you were intentional. How did you sustain yourself during that? Because I know sometimes in the in-between, it can get rough.
It is.
How did you sustain yourself?
I will say savings was a big one. In terms of just getting by financially. During that time, I think I needed to focus on myself as a mother and my family, my son. And it was a time where I was spending a lot of energy with my community and being in conversation with other writers. And I did a lot of reading and I did a lot of resting and I did a lot of soaking in. And I think that that was something that I really needed, because I think as a creative, as a working creative, there's a lot of output and you're always taking what's inside of you and pouring it out into the public, into the, to the page. And I think I just needed to have some time to be sort of selfish and just take things in. And so that was definitely a big part of it. And I was also freelancing and pitching and writing articles here and there and just kind of getting back to my roots, which was something that I had to kind of put on pause because I was so busy working. So yeah, it was a time of a lot of freedom. And I tried not to lean into how nervous it feels to not be working. That was like a daily meditation.
Okay, because that was what I was going to say. Yeah, because obviously I can understand the savings, God bless, it comes through, but preserving your emotions and your spirit, because you are taking a big leap of faith. And, you know, I don't know about you, but I used to have like the fear was talking a lot. Like, are you sure you made the right decision? You know, so how did you speak to your fears? How did you prioritize being able to take that time to cultivate that energy so that you would keep going?
I would say, you know, something that I have been in practice of for a long time, starting with probably when I first took off and moved to New York in the first place, back in 08, which is to really trust that pull that's telling me yes, no, wait, stay, the instinct that's inside of you. I think that you really have to practice trusting it. And I have really gotten to a place where even if it's looking bad, I can sit with myself and say, where is my need for this coming from? Is it coming from fear? Is it coming from what I know about myself, from faith, from love? And when I can check in with myself and really identify why I'm being drawn to or away from something, I have learned to trust it, and it does not let me down. And so I think in those moments, it was a lot of, okay, I'm looking at my bank balance change. I'm looking at my inbox. It's looking dry, but why am I here? What brought me here? And at the end of the day, do I have what I need in this moment? And if I do, then the answer is I'm fine. And that is an act of faith. It's not necessarily always going to be logical. You will have people who will be like, girl, couldn't be me. And, you know, all of that.
Right.
But I've been in the practice of taking risks and leaning into my intuition. And it has been always good ROI. It always ends up as a good decision. And good decisions they're not always linear. It's not, you did it, it's a good decision. And so in the next week or 2 weeks or whatever, it's going to work out. Sometimes you have to sit in being scared and ask yourself what you're supposed to be learning about yourself in that moment. And really just trust it and let go of the idea that you have to control everything, because you really can't control anything.
No, not at all. And that is so hard sometimes, especially when you're trying to move to your next level. And I can only imagine, especially like as a mom, you know, that there's that extra pressure to obviously make sure, you know, you're keeping everything level with that. How do you balance that?
I don't always balance it. Sometimes I'm falling over, but I think what really brings me back is the thing that I think has become my main motivation in life is, at the end of the day, I really want to feel love. I want to feel good. I want to feel okay. And I don't necessarily subscribe to the metrics that we have been told are the most important elements of success. And at the end of the day, I really sit with whether or not I feel whole, whether or not I can be myself, whether I'm in a professional space or with my friends or with my family or whatever, with my child. And balance to me looks like I get to be me in all of those spaces. I don't have to adjust or acquiesce or whatever to somebody else. And I mean, sometimes that means that I am, you know, taking time for myself and taking time away from someone else, or taking time away from motherhood, or taking a moment for myself. But I really do always come back to, if I feel whole at the end of the day, then I'm in the right place and I'm making the right choices. And whatever that means, career-wise, friend, relationship, whatever, then that's where I'm supposed to be. That's what I'm supposed to be doing.
I love that, because that really shows, like we kind of discussed in when we first met, how much you own you. You know, how much you are willing to prioritize you. And like I said, that is a journey for many of us, that we struggle with. I mean, owning ourselves. I'm just starting to own myself, like I told you before, and I'm 50. And so for you to be at your age point, to be able to own yourself like that, that's a very powerful thing, because I do want to see more women have that feeling younger, not have to wait till you're older, where you sacrifice so much of yourself and then try to figure it out. No, I think if you figure it out at your age and younger, that's where life can be just a beautiful thing. What do you feel was one of the main contributing things or the main inspiration for how that attitude in you took place?
I think that I really draw a lot from survivor stories and people who have been through whatever their hell is, whatever their lowest point is, and can speak to what the other side looks like. I think that we have a fear of failing, and we have a fear of letting people down, or whatever failure looks like to us. And, for the example of being a divorced person and going through, the end of my marriage, that looks like a failure to most people. And people will look at that and say, oh, wow, I mean, are you okay? You gonna get by? And like, are you sure? And I think that being on the other side of that and realizing that failures are not the end of your story, something coming to a close is not the end of your story. And it doesn't mean that you can't make a decision or make a shift or pivot away from what people feel like you should be doing, and you'll be okay on the other side. I think I draw a lot of my encouragement from the other women in my life who have gone a different path and chosen to do something different. My mother is a survivor of domestic violence. She's a survivor of divorce. She's somebody who I have seen rebuild herself almost out of nothing. And to this day is, in my opinion, one of the most successful women I know, because she's happy with herself and she's fulfilled, and she is, a self-sustained, loving person. I think that my biggest motivation in life is not necessarily just to survive it, but to maintain my ability to love, and to maintain my ability to be soft, and maintain my ability to empathize with people. I don't just want to get by or be like successful. I want to be able to feel my life, and feel others. And so I really look at my mother as somebody who has gone through a lot, and at the end of the day is not bitter, is not mean, is not cruel, is not, you know what I mean? She has really gotten to a place in her, now mid-60s, where she's able to be soft and loving. And I think that is something that I aspire to. And I know that doesn't come from making decisions and staying in places that other people think you should be in. I think it always is from like coming back to what's good for you and protecting your own heart, and knowing that's nobody else's job but you to protect your heart.
Absolutely. And that is one of the most courageous things I think that anyone can do for themselves. Because like you said, society and expectations of what success and everything looks like is a lot of pressure. Yeah. And, a lot of people are putting themselves in that position to feel that. Your mother sounds like an amazing woman. When you talk to her about your journeys, and because I don't know, if you're like me and my mom, I love talking to my mom about her life, and I ask her questions all the time about, her marriage and how she did things, just because she's my litmus test. If you think about it as well, when you're asking your mom, when she talks to you, how do you guys talk about, like, when she looks at you and gives you advice about things, is it more like friendly? It sounds like it's like that best friend, or what is one thing she told you that it's like, yeah, I guess you're right, I need to do that?
My mom is definitely, I think, a testament to the way that I build my own relationship with my son, which is like, I would like for us to be friends as adults. I would like for us to be, I might not be able to be your homie right now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I want to make sure that, I'm a source of trust. I'm a source of love, and I'm a source of like reality for you. And my mom has always been that. I think as adults, being able to be seen by her and be honest with her, I'm truly grateful for. I know that's not something that everybody has with their parents, if they have their parents at all, is to have an honest and transparent relationship with them. There's absolutely nothing that I am going through that I have not talked to my mom about. And there's things that my close friends don't even know that my mother knows. And we talk about relationships, we talk about sex, we talk about, work, we talk about whatever. I think part of that is because my mother was a divorced woman. So I saw her date, I saw her break up with dudes, I saw her move on. I had questions, you know what I mean? And that was probably, as I got older, something that really bonded us. But I really do appreciate that I'm able to learn who she is. And I did that with my grandmother before she passed as well. I'll never forget when I was in college, I had a women's lit class, and we were assigned an essay about the matriarchs of our family. And we went and interviewed the oldest living female member of our family, which at that point, my great grandmother had just passed. So I sat with my grandmother for hours and asked her questions that most women her age are not going to answer. And some of them she passed on. She was like, nope. but I learned about her journey. I learned about, the story and how she became a mother and how she survived adolescence and what it was like, during the Jim Crow era and some of our family lineage and like just the things that you might not know from photographs and knickknacks that are left behind. And now that she's passed on, that's probably one of the most valuable conversations I've ever had. And every February for Black History Month, I always remind people like your history, your family history is Black history. Talk to your grandmother, your aunts, your uncles, your mother, interview them, ask some questions, write it down, and pass it on, because that is really fascinating to know where you get your gumption, where you get your fears, where you get your tendencies, why, or maybe things that you don't know you should nurture about yourself because your grandmother, your mother did. I definitely learned a lot. And I think it was talking to my grandmother and talking to my mother now that I see, I come from a long line of strong ass women, like really strong, self-determined, self-starting women. And so, of course, I'm going to lean into that for myself.
Absolutely. And I think we need to have more conversations about that, because I do say that a lot. And I pray about it quite a bit. Like, I thank God, like I came from this strong lineage, because that's the foundation of us. That's how we got here. We are all of our grandmothers and great grandmothers praying for the next generation. We are those dreams on fire and actualized. So I love that. And I love that you have that root in you. I was going to say, do you feel, what is one thing that you like discovered about yourself that you can, from that conversation, that you can see in yourself now?
I think, this is interesting because my grandmother was a divorcee. My mother was a divorcee. I am a divorcee. And I think that what I used to draw from that fact, that thread, was, wow, we can't keep a man. You know what I mean? Like, dang, he runs in the family. Shit. So I think that what I've come to really appreciate about it is, actually, I come from a long line of women who know where they belong and a long line of women who know when to leave the room. And that is not the same as you can't keep a man. That is, you know how to keep yourself. And so I really hold that tight and close. Yes. I know that, it, no matter where I go or what journey I take or what direction I go or who I'm with or whatever, that at the end of the day, I am okay being by myself, and not in a way where it's a consolation prize. And it's like, well, I guess, but that is my safest space, is me, you know what I mean? And like really leaning into that. So I feel very grateful that I have those examples of women who, they bought homes and traveled and did things with or without a spouse or whatever. that they were able to have a love life and be fulfilled and indulge in their beauty and have friendships and have a full life and really change and shape what the meaning of love looks like for them in a way that is not just directed towards, do I have a man? Do I have a partner? Love is much more than that. So big one.
Oh, that's beautiful. And everything. And definitely catch that, especially if you guys missed that. Knowing when to leave. Now, that's right. Realizing that they knew exactly when to go to preserve them. Because unfortunately, a lot of us come from from families that, if we look back and really examine some of those relationships that were happening back in the day, it's just with everything that was going on, there was a lot of destructive relationships.
And I think especially women being sort of taught that you have to be sacrificing yourself for the greater good, which is, being a wife.
Absolutely. And that is not always the greater good. It's funny. I had a friend of mine, just had a conversation with them about it. And I was like, I wasn't raised that way either. My parents, my dad told me before he passed away, he's like, you do not have to get married. He's like, I'm just telling you right off rip. He's like, you don't have to get married. You don't have to have children. He was like, it's really all about you being able to sustain your life and find someone who loves you fully and actualizing, because he was at that point, he was like telling me, I've never liked any person that you have dated. Like he was reading me for filth. He was like,
by the way,
I have never liked any man that you've dated, and like none of these men are worth your time and energy. So you are, going through the list, like you are just too strong, too beautiful. We raised you this way. Girl, go on and just get somebody. You guys commit to each other. You don't have to
and also it doesn't have to last forever. I think these experiences that we have are just that, they're experiences. And, it's going to hurt. It's going to have emotional ups and downs, no matter what, whether it's a forever thing or a seasonal thing. But, the idea that something has to last forever, I think, is something that we might as a society be growing out of, because people are more, I think people are more invested in their own wellness and their own needs. And, sometimes your needs not aligning with somebody else means, again, it's time to leave the room, and that's okay.
But like we were talking about before, because I was that girl on our lineman call, y'all. We were talking about marriage, and I was explaining how at my age, at 50, I'm open to getting married, with the right person, definitely open. But if we do it, we're doing it forever. Because I'm 50, and I do not want to have to divorce you, because it's too complex. I'm going to be honest.
It is. It's a lot.
It's too complex. I'm coming already with the prenup. Like, no, because I need to be able to, like, if we do, because nothing is forever, I got to walk away. But then that makes me wonder for you, because obviously, yes, you've gone through your season with the divorce, and now you've, found love. Do you look at this new love like it's forever, or do you look at it like, if I need to leave the room, I will? I'm not trying to leave the room, but I will if I need to.
Yeah, I do. I look at it like, I am first and foremost in relationship with myself. And I think that at least I aspire to bring my wholeness to every relationship that I'm in, friendships, whatever. Right. And I don't think that our role in engaging with people and having relationships with people is to cling to them forever. I think it's to be an asset to them and to learn something about ourselves and to grow with that person. And of course, I hope that it lasts for as long as it possibly can. If that's forever, then of course. But ultimately, what is most important to me is that it is an exchange of love and reciprocity and light and encouragement. And I think that what comes with that is just a balance between, I'm going to work and do the work to show up and be my best self. And I'm going to hope that you work to be your best self as well. Mm-hmm. But if our best selves are no longer suited for each other, or we can't be our best selves with each other, then it's okay to say, this has run its course, and I think being through a divorce and my marriage was a huge lesson in that, because We're several years outside of our separation and divorce, and we are much better people as we are today, having had that as part of our story. And I don't think that we would have been the people that we are today and the parents that we can be to our son had we forced ourselves to remain in that, And I think that we were young, and there are, different things that went into why that didn't work. But I really do like to remind people that on the other side of divorce or breakups or whatever it is, there is a lot of beauty and a lot of understanding and strength that comes from it. There's a lot more growth. I really love the saying, as you haven't met everyone that's going to love you, something like that. I think that that's such a beautiful concept of like, we don't have to fixate on the idea of just one person being our one. Our communities, our friends, are also our soulmates as well. And we have other ways to love and be loved besides finding our like Prince Charming type of person.
Absolutely. Because that's a lot of pressure on Prince Charming.
There's a lot of pressure. Yes. It's on you.
Way too much pressure. And I agree, we need to be open to that, because that reminds me of the Sex and the City episode where they were talking about how they were each other's soulmates.
Yeah. And I love that. I really do. I feel like one of the things that I really draw from my polyamorous friends and that whole just model of love and relationship is that you are allowed to love multiple people. You are allowed to be in love with multiple people. You're allowed to have loving friendships. You're allowed to spend time with, go on dates with your friends. Right. I don't mean date your friends, like sleep with your friends, but I mean like the way that you would invest yourself and invest your time in getting to know someone who's going to be your life partner. You have a lot of life partners, and, you're more likely to be in your friendships longer than you are in a relationship. And I think that sometimes, especially as women, we tend to kind of drop our friends when we find that one person, like, all right, bye girl, I'm busy. And that's fine. You indulge in all of that. But I think that it's really important to continue to feed all of the people and all of the relationships, because that is love. That is your community. That is really just as important as the one person that you choose to be, living with and partnering with.
Oh, totally agree with that. I mean, because, and again, that's a lot of pressure on that person. Like, you can't make one person the center. And I've been that person where you put the friends off for the man and stuff like that. But to your point, a lot of those relationships, your friendships are longer than your relationships. And I think personally, your partners will respect you more that you have a life outside of them. Like, you're not just trying, like, every man cannot be like, they could be your best friend, but there's certain things they don't want to talk about. They're just like,
they can't be your everything. I don't think that your partner, your boyfriend, your husband should be your everything. No. I think that was something that I had to unlearn myself, is like, I'm going to find somebody who understands me, who knows how I want to be loved, who knows what I want to eat in the morning, who understands my feelings, who I don't have to explain myself to. Child, good luck. Because I don't think that exists anywhere, or if it does, it's severely lacking in some other area, because, it's not everybody can be everything. Your friends can't be everything to you. Your child can't be everything to you. Your job can't be everything. You got to spread the love around.
Absolutely. And just make sure you are everything to yourself,
Yeah, for
Definitely.
Sure.
So I have a couple of quick questions for you.
Right.
First, let me ask you, how are you keeping yourself nourished, ma'am? Like, you are expounding all these gems and all this. How are you keeping yourself nourished right now?
That's a good question. Right now, I am keeping myself nourished by resting, actually sleeping, which is new for me.
Are you an insomniac like the rest of us?
I am. I'm a night owl. I always get that energy boost right when I should probably be winding down, especially as a mom, when my son is home on the weeks that he's with me and not his father. after he goes to bed, it's like, all right, now I'm going to do all the things that I want to do. I'm going to watch the show that I haven't watched because it's rated R and I can't have it on around him. I'm going to text my friends. I'm going to call, me and my cousins have a group chat. We always hop on calls and we'll talk until like 1 o'clock in the morning. And then we all got to go to work the next day. And I think that lately I have really been prioritizing rest and sleep. Mm-hmm. And giving myself to a sleep schedule and going to bed by a certain time. And it's interesting you say nourish, because part of that has also been not eating past a certain hour. And it has literally changed my life, just cutting off food after 8 p.m. Not even like as a weight loss goal, just in terms of setting my digestion and getting myself cleansed before I go to bed and focusing more on my mind than my body before I go to bed. And really having like a nighttime routine. Yeah. Life-changing. Life-changing. Shut the phone off, turn off social media, and just sit with yourself. Yeah.
I'm trying that myself. It is rough. The sleep schedule is definitely struggling right now. I had been really good about it, but I'm definitely going to get back into it. But I agree. It's like amazing how when you stop eating past a certain time, how better you feel. Yeah.
I feel better in the morning. I mean, whatever you got, for me, transitioning, it was like a lot of melatonin in the beginning, because I was definitely not shutting my eyes naturally and just going, okay, it's time to sleep. Right. I was like, I gotta like drug myself to sleep just in the beginning so I can get this routine going. Yes. And so melatonin, whatever you got to do to shut your eyes and shut it down.
Oh, I totally agree. I was going to say, grab some ashwagandha too. It's really good.
Part. Yeah. And also, what is it? Magnesium? A little like in your water?
Yes, that's good. Part cherry juice. Like there's just so many things I think that we're all like trying to figure out to help us regulate some sleep. But I love that you are getting sleep right now. Because I was going to say, what are you working on? Are you like, the creative juice is flowing? I'm sure they always are, but what do you have going on right now?
I am back at freelancing and in writing. I am the managing editor at OK Player, but I'm always pitching. I always want to, write. So I took a break for a minute, but I've come back to it. And so, you'll see me popping up on Parents Mag. There's also a beautiful publication called Mother Tongue. It's a print publication. Okay. I just finished working on a piece for them. I'm a contributing editor for that magazine. And so I generally contribute a piece per issue. And this one is really special because it was not about me. It was more me telling someone else's story. A friend of mine who is a transracial, transnational South Korean adoptee. Wow. And listening to her explain what it feels like to be an adoptee and grow up in a predominantly white area by a white family, and just what that meant for her was a really beautiful experience. And then to be able to sit and write her story, I'm really proud of that, and I'm excited for that to come out. And then I'm also going to be kicking off, finally, a newsletter at the end of the month. Okay. I've been putting this off for a very long time, and I think for me as a writer, that is, as a freelancer, I pitch to publications, and my pitches are tailored to that publication. This is what I know you guys want to read, and I can write it. And this is really more of me sort of returning to my blogging days and just coming from my own heart and talking about the things that are coming up for me. So a little bit more personal, well, a lot more personal, a lot more of just my voice. And it'll definitely be focused on creative work, motherhood, balance, definitely something for the writers out there, because I'm dropping tips. I'm always trying to nurture the writing community in some way. So there'll be a little bit of everything, but I'm really happy that I'm finally putting that out at the end of August.
I'm so excited for you to do that. And definitely I will be supporting and sharing. I have a writer in my house. My little sister is a writer. And I always like to make sure that she is nurtured and inspired, because they're so sensitive about their art. Yes. Everybody is sensitive about their stuff. So
right, like Badu said.
Yes, definitely like Badu said. I'm sensitive about this thing too. So I totally understand it. So ma'am, I'd like to ask you some random questions because that's what I do. I ask random questions.
Let's do it.
First and foremost, one of the things that I feel like is music is the soundtrack of our lives. I really do. And so I love to ask people, what is the song that gets you going? Like, what's your favorite ratchet song that just makes you feel like, oh, I'm on top of the world. I've got this today.
Oh my God. I'm not going to even lie. It's not that ratchet, but I'm going to be honest with you. So like I said, I work at OK Player, and we had Mahalia, who's an R&B singer from the UK, come in and share her latest album. And I'm very familiar with her work. I love her. I think she's dope. But this is actually not about her, because she said that one of her co-writers for one of her songs was Ray.
Okay.
Who when she said it, I didn't recognize the name. And so I went down the rabbit hole on music on my iTunes and found her latest album. And there's a track on there, I think it's called Bust It.
Okay.
If I'm not wrong, if I'm not mistaken. And I might be wrong. Is that what it's called Bust It Down.
Okay.
And it's really, I think that song, I've been listening to it in the morning. It's definitely something you need to twerk to. It's definitely an empowering song. And I think what it reminds me of, and this might not even have been her intention, but for me, it reminds me that my body is mine. My body is for my pleasure. My body is for my love. I don't need, a man or a partner or an audience in order to enjoy my body. And I think it just reminds me to just like exist in my body and appreciate where my body is in this moment of life, what my body has gotten me through, and just like throw it back one time. And just, before I go off into the world to be a whole person, it's just like, I've been listening to it for like the past week, probably.
Okay. I'm totally going to listen to it tomorrow, because I definitely feel like a good bust it down probably is necessary, because it is. And I love that. So I'm going to listen to it. Is it, I think I was looking while you were talking, because I'm that kind of crazy person.
I was too.
Bust It Down, track by Apollo, Ray, and D.
It is. It's also, her album is called My 21st Century Blues.
Okay.
It came out this year. And it's really a pop album, which I don't usually indulge in. But this album I was loving.
Oh, good.
Loving the whole album. There's also a very brave track called Ice Cream Man, which, if you're a survivor of sexual assault or any kind of assault, and you feel like listening to something that speaks to that, it's a really beautiful song where she speaks very candidly about her experiences as a survivor. So it's a great album.
Oh, I'm totally going to check it out. And I will make sure I put it in the show notes, guys. So that way, because, good, inspiring music, as well as things that kind of just touch you, I always feel like those are nourishing for the soul. So I love to share that. And music, again, it's the soundtrack of our lives. It just helps us out. So then my next question is, ma'am, do you have a word of the year?
Ooh, a word of the year.
Or a word of the moment, whatever works here.
I think that, honestly, it would have to be, and this isn't one word, it's I won't, which is not the same as I can't. Okay. I think that I have definitely been in my I won't phase, my I won't era, where it is not about whether or not I can, or my ability, or my access, or what I should be doing, or what you think I should be doing, or if it's convenient for you, but more so me saying, I can choose whether or not I even want to, and my want is more important than whether I need to. So I've been leaning into, instead of saying I can't, saying I won't when I need to say no.
I love that. That's because you just don't think about it from that standpoint of just saying I won't, because that totally shows intention.
Yeah. I think that was reaffirmed for me, and I don't want any spoilers. I don't know if anybody's watching and just like that, but there was a moment in the last episode where someone very assertively said, I won't, instead of I can't, and clarified it's not can't, it's I won't. And I really felt that deep. So I think it was like a reaffirming moment. I'm like, see, exactly. That's exactly it. And that can be received with love too. It doesn't have to be offensive.
Absolutely. And it definitely needs to be delivered. So I love that. And I do like it just like that. I have not watched this season, so I need to binge and catch up. Like it's just, I've been too outside. So that's why I
Yeah.
haven't like caught it. But I'm going to catch that because yes, I love that. So I love that for you. You're in the I won't season.
I won't
Okay.
be. Yep.
Very much. I love that. What is one thing that brought you joy today?
Oh, wow. I'm working on a little something at work, and one of the things I love about my job is that I get to engage with writers a lot. And so I had back-to-back meetings with writers, and normally I'm exhausted by back-to-back meetings, but I always feel so happy to talk to writers about what they want to write and what they are interested in. I'm really proud of what I'm working on. So I think I was just like, it's one of those moments where you are exhausted, but you're also like, I'm exhausted for a good reason, though. You know what I mean? Like it was
Yes.
good energy exchange. And as somebody who tries to create community with writers, and I have a community on Twitter that I just started not too long ago, again, Twitter, called the Black Freelance Community. It's for Black freelance writers. It was one of those things where I put out a call to writers, and they came back and they reached out. And I love when I'm able to share resources and like grow with writers. So it was really enriching today to have those.
I love that. I love that. You strike me like someone who can build community very well.
Yeah, I have to. I definitely do. That's my family. Yeah.
Right. And I can see it. Like it just irradiates from everything. Your smile. I know y'all can't see her, but like her eyes are lit up, everything. Like it's just this overwhelming joy when you talk about community. And so I can tell the impacts of that to you. And that's a very beautiful thing. So ma'am, what is one thing we're down to like two more questions. This is one of the two. What is one thing that you would want my audience or anyone to know about you that you have not said today?
That I have not said today.
Mm-hmm.
I think that it would be that that's a hard one.
I'm sorry.
Something I haven't said. I feel like probably something I haven't said today, and honestly, is that I started out my day kind of sad. I'm going to be honest with you. And I think that that's something that I kept to myself because I feel like if you have sadness in your day, that's your whole day. You know what I mean? You're not allowed to feel anything else. Mm-hmm. And so I think what I would want to say is, I'm bigger than my sadness today. I also found joy today. I also found connection. I found this beautiful conversation that we're having right now. And I feel like a proud moment for me was letting people in my life who I love, when they were like, hey, how you doing today? To say, I'm sad. I'm sad right now, but I'll be okay, And so I think, if I'm honest, like sadness is all right. It comes, it goes. Yeah, it's fine. And it's okay to share that. That's the thing. I didn't put that on Twitter today, but
that is something you should put on Twitter, because that is a lot of trust. When you get to that level of life that you trust people, that you let them know when you're sad, that's a very beautiful connection. So
it is very much so.
Sharing that with me today.
Absolutely.
Definitely. So ma'am, where can we support you? Tell us all the deets, because, we want to follow and be there and be a part of the community.
I am on all the socials, Ashley Simpo, on Twitter, on Threads. I'm over there on Threads now, making it happen. I do like Threads, and on Instagram as well. So I'll be sharing more details about the newsletter soon and sharing a link for everybody to sign up. I would love to see that community grow. So I'll be sharing more about that, but you can always find me on the socials.
Well, we will definitely look for you on the socials. I will have all of her social information in the show notes. And I want to thank you. This was like I told you, this was like the bright spot of my day. And it's such a powerful day, like the Lionsgate portal, the infinite possibilities, manifestations. So I'm so glad that I got a chance to share time and energy with you. And I am very grateful that you came on. So thank you.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here. This was great.
Oh, thank you so much. And thank you guys for listening. I hope you all have an amazing rest of the weekend. I will have all of Ashley's information in the show notes. And I will be back next week with a brand new episode. Take care of yourselves and each other and have an amazing rest of the weekend. Talk soon. Bye-bye.